Hope you're all doing well. We have Craig in the audience, our beloved recorder.
Yes. Yes. Um, not that.
And you know what I'm going to do as well? I'm going to invite the lovely Mode team, although
Oh
many of them
yeah.
are sleeping, and our beautiful ironclad gang. Okay, dope. Do you have an agenda, Mr. Charles, or are we freestyling here?
Um, I have a loose agenda. We're somewhat freestyling. Um, I feel like we have enough kind of in our heads that we'll be able to freestyle pretty effectively. So obviously the topic of conversation is on next week and the token launch happening, or should I say the liquidity generation event happening. But I guess
And the
we could take
token
the
launch
token
happening
launch.
as well on Friday.
Yeah, that's true. The token is going into the hands of the community next week. So we did have a kind of an annoying change happen yesterday out of our control. So I want to talk about that. And then we can just chat about what people can expect next week. So airdrop recipients, public sale recipients, um, Zeely questers, and everybody involved. So yeah, um, yeah. I guess we should start off just talking about what happened yesterday, and I guess
Yeah,
we can kind of preface it with the original plan, and then talk about what happened yesterday and kind of go from there. So
sure.
if you
You're
want to
being
start it off,
so
I'm happy to.
ominous.
I
Yeah,
am.
all.
I was
Um,
trying to set you up.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, in the late afternoon, basically, our market maker, and a market maker is someone who manages liquidity in centralized exchanges. It's typically a trading firm that just makes sure there's liquidity on both sides of the book, and then they make money from the spread. So this market maker hits us up and says, "Hey, Bitget is asking for paperwork that we don't have notarized right now. And, anytime you're dealing with international organizations, whether it be the Caymans, the Bahamas, BVI, et cetera, um, notarization takes a long ass time and is very painful and annoying. So we are like, all right, we're just going to find a new person because this, I think, is the third delay, if I recall
Yeah,
correctly. Very
yeah,
painful. But we immediately
yeah.
found like three new candidates that were excited to work with us. And we jumped into a call and we were like, okay, what are we really losing here if we decide to go forward without Bitget on Monday? And I think very very quickly we came to the conclusion that we're like losing nothing and maybe gaining something, being like less float, more kind of control over the goings on throughout the launch process, um, and I think really like a little bit of a clearer look into how ICL percolates into the market. Is that a decent characterization, Charles, of the conclusion of yesterday?
Yeah, I would say definitely. Yeah, I mean the first, if you'll recall, like there was, it was scheduled for um, July 2nd, and sort of a similar thing happened where the same party hit us up and was like, I can't make the second. Can you do 2 weeks later? And we were like, all right, this is okay. Let's do that. And then just it being kind of the third time. It actually happened before that, but we hadn't announced anything yet on the first time, so it was totally fine. But just we really want to um do you guys right and stick to what we said was going to happen, regardless of just things that are happening outside of our control. And yeah, on the call yesterday, we like landed in a spot where everyone was like, "Wow, this is actually really beast. This is actually like the strategy that we came up with without Bitget on day one is really bullish in my opinion. So I'm like equally as excited as I was before this news dropped. And I mean, this it's not to say that the Bitget deal fell through entirely, which would have been a real bummer. But it's like it's just going to be while the token has already been circulating um and launched. So
Yeah.
uh,
I
hmm,
think maybe like talking about why that's kind of a good thing is, we've been talking to these professional trading firms for a long time, and a lot of you may have seen, like, for the past few months, tokens, even like big, exciting VC tokens, have been launching and then just going only down. Um, and this is kind of, the reason for that is multifaceted, but a big one is, when you have a bunch of illiquid, long exposure to a token or to a project, sometimes it makes sense to hedge that exposure, especially when you're not seeing adoption or revenue that would warrant a really high valuation, by insta dumping. Um, so a lot of these market makers have been getting totally wrecked by VCs, by airdrop farmers, by other market makers selling into their liquidity. A lot of market makers have earned reputations for being pretty cutthroat, and being willing to kind of push the limits of what it is to be a market maker. And that's how we see a lot of these like races to the bottom with, layer zero token. Even the mode token was kind of victim to this. And we thought, instead of all these market makers like running out of cash and stopping their algorithms and letting the markets kind of chew up a token and spit it out, this is where DeFi really shines, especially when you think about Uniswap v2, where you can kind of get deep liquidity across a full range. And sure, you're not going to get the absolute best execution in the world, but I don't think that when you are issuing or trading an asset like ICL, for example, or an ecosystem token or a lower market cap token, you should expect like, small, really tight spreads. And so what Uniswap v2 and Uniswap v2, the algorithm is used on Velodrome, it's used on Kim, it's used on Swap Mode, all these native platforms. Um, is able to handle this sort of volatility perfectly. And so we got to thinking, we were like, hey, sure, we're not going to have, all this insane centralized exchange leverage and centralized exchange liquidity. And really what that means is market makers aren't getting a bunch of tokens to potentially sell. And we can have really organic, close to the wire price discovery where users kind of win out more. And then the Bitget listing will just come. And the thing is, like, you think about Bitget, it's like, all right, it's a great access point to the community, but what do we gain from having Bitget on day one? It's really not much, especially looking at some of the Gate launches that we've seen recently. And Gate is 10 times bigger than Bitget. Um, so we were like, hey, let's have price discovery happen on Velodrome, and let's get incentives going via Kim. Let's get staking going. Let's get everything really churning and going well, and then we can go on Bitget. And at that point, all the volatility associated with token launches will have played out on chain, and we'll have a much easier time, kind of handling the market on the centralized exchange side, and we can also be much more conservative with how many tokens we make available on the centralized exchange. So I think like with all of the everything we're doing, the outcome is really like there's going to be maybe 1.5% less ICL in circulation on launch, which I think is really healthy. And then, in a couple weeks after the launch or a week after the launch, when our new market maker kind of steps in and gets their algos up and running, it'll be, more of an onboarding thing, and more of kind of like a liquidity management thing, and less so like trying to make a centralized exchange launch just work, because none of them have been popping off. And I think like we see a resurgence in DeFi. We see, I mean, obviously not right now, but there's resurging interest, and people are realizing that, oh, you know what? Maybe the big low float, high FTV centralized exchange shenanigans don't really lead to positive outcomes for everybody. So that's the longest TLDR you'll ever get, courtesy of your long-winded friend Justin. But yeah, well, I think long story short, like we're really happy with how things turned out, and I would say looking at the kind of shift in plan, it's like I would say I am way less stressed about the outcome because we're not depending on third parties. And every time we depend on third parties, and correct me if I'm wrong, Charles, it's usually not that great. Just because, like, I don't know, our team is good at doing stuff, and a lot of teams aren't that good at doing stuff. If you think about
Yeah.
S1, you think about like all the market making stuff, you think about this, that, the other. So
Yeah. Especially in Ironclad's case, I mean, we've had just kind of
yeah,
annoying setbacks as a result of working with third parties. Like, yeah, I guess S1 is the biggest example of that, but um yeah, like especially third parties that we've never worked with. I mean, obviously there are other teams out there that we are, have worked a lot with or are really familiar with how they operate, and that's great to be able to leverage that. But it is very stressful when you're jumping into bed with a new group of people, and you're like, okay, they
you're
say they're
just
going to do all this
noobs,
stuff.
dude.
Yeah, like, and most often you find out quickly that, oh, actually they don't really know what they're doing. Um, so yeah, no, I feel I share your sentiment. And yeah, I guess with that, I would like to mention how excited I am, and I think a lot of people have expressed their excitement about staking being launched on day one. And what we are going to be doing is really boosting the rewards for the first little while, for the first month. And most of those rewards are going to be in ETH, which, generally a very desirable asset in DeFi. Everybody wants to,
You don't say.
when
Wow.
you're earning rewards and it's not in on a liquid Bitcoin, it's always really nice. So we're gonna have a lot of ETH streaming to stakers, like starting on Monday.
Yeah.
And so that is really awesome. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah.
I think like a really exciting thing about Ironclad is like, I think we've got a little ways to go on the UI UX. We're working on making it really abstract and clean. There's like an update coming in the next month and a half, that will like really sex it up, so to speak. Um, but in terms of like raw infrastructure, I feel like we're just coming to the table in another weight class. And I think really what we've been working with Mode on, and working on getting them to recognize, is that Ironclad is the only platform with the ability to be sustainable in any capacity. If you look at the FDV compared to the TVL of Ionic, for example, Um, it's really like insane to me because there's no value accrual, there's no value capture, and there's not really a means for Ionic to benefit Mode's bottom line. And how Ironclad works, if you've been keeping up with the tokenomics and all of that, is, you know, Ironclad is going to create a lot of trade volume for the Mode token. It's going to accumulate a lot of Mode tokens. OICL is going to add a lot of utility to Mode tokens. Um, so I think like once we are in the market and once all of our gears are turning properly, a big thing that we're going to shift our focus to is getting buy-in from Mode and really trying to kind of stretch out into every corner of the Mode ecosystem and get people to understand, hey, if you want Mode to be successful, if you want Mode to be the best network it can be, you need to really, really, really be using Ironclad. And I'll tell you, like, you know, the Mode team, Mode founders, et cetera, are understanding this right now. We're working on, you know, some interesting deals with them to really promote the usership and the strong association with the Mode network. Um, and yeah, I would invite anybody in the audience, like, you know, if you are a holder of Mode tokens or if you're an investor of Mode, you know, we're seeing like some really great lows here for the Mode token, and I really want Ironclad to sort of mark the bottom, and we're doing that by creating a ton of utility for Mode. And I think personally, you know, I try not to talk too much about token prices, but I think Mode is a very special opportunity in that it's a great team. You know, it's been like I don't know where new sellers would come from at this point, and by launching Ironclad at these lows, we get to kind of reflexively ride up the ladder, so to speak, as Mode kind of achieves a fair valuation. And maybe like, you know, layer twos are just worthless now, but I really after working with the Mode team for so long, I really think we've got something pretty special. And really, and you might have remembered me tweeting about this a couple months ago. It's like this is a high pedigree team, the Mode team, um, and they are, instead of developing in the background and not launching their chain for a year, they decided to hell with it. We're just going to launch. And very rarely would we get an opportunity to get our hands on a token like this at these kinds of valuations. So Ironclad, like the pitch is, hey, like here is the ultimate beta. Here's the ultimate ecosystem play. And not only that, we're going to really supplement the Mode token with extra utility. Um, and that's
Yeah.
kind of the messaging we're going to be working on both on the B2B end and trying to translate that to users. I would say you guys are users, of course, but if you're in the Discord, you're skewing toward the evangelist end of things. But yeah, we really want to be able to translate these ideas well to the Mode holder base.
Yeah, and embedded in what Justin just said, um, is IUSD, which I think maybe is going a little bit, well, you know, probably not to you guys, being the evangelists, um, but is maybe going under the radar for a lot of people who don't really keep up with Ironclad, even if they're maybe a user, like they could be in the money market, um, and don't have no idea that there is a Mode native stablecoin coming out of that. And in the you know, along the lines of providing utility to Mode, that's yet another thing, that how we're facilitating that. And like, you know, I know, getting into the weeds on, like, you know, how CDPs can be successful and how they can scale is kind of boring sometimes, to, I guess, to maybe some people, but like, you know, IUSD is going to be one of the first examples of a new system that we've been working on and that UV has been researching for a long time. And it's extremely, extremely exciting to bring this to Mode and have Mode like, what stablecoins are on Mode right now. It's like, okay, USDC, USDT, like what are the other decentralized stables on Mode? I mean, there isn't really one. Maybe I'm missing something, but
Yeah.
to have a decentralized Mode native stablecoin that can push out an interest bearing version of itself and prop up all the biggest Mode assets in terms of having collateral. Um, yeah, it's really really special, and I think the Mode team should be, I think they are, and I think they should be cluing into how what a big opportunity this is for them as well. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah. I think maybe one of the most important things I think is just how much Mode needs a native stablecoin right now,
totally.
because there's a massive supply crunch for ETH liquidity and USD liquidity, and they have so many assets with a high borrow appetite, being LRTs. Bitcoin has kind of like a median appetite for borrowing, uh, the MBTC, and it's just like we have a solution, and the solution is synthetic credit, and the solution is synthetic stable coins. And what IUSD is going to do is all of the easy ETH, for example, on Ionic, and even just sitting on the chain doing nothing, all the MBTC, all the WETH, all the RS ETH, all the Stone, etc. Um, all of that doesn't have access to affordable liquidity right now because of this supply crunch. So interest rates across the board are quite high, um, and demand is not able to be serviced properly. So taking that even a step further is like the Mode token needs utility, and that's something else that we're able to deliver. And if you look at the interest rates for the Mode token right now, whether it be on Ironclad or elsewhere, um, it is like it's something that needs uh, it just needs access to leverage, and it needs access to utility. And Mode has done a really good job of onboarding all of these interest bearing assets, LRTs, et cetera. And they just need to be able to convert that into sticky liquidity. And oftentimes what that means is utility. And there's no better utility, I think, than a stable coin. Um, and we'll see perps platforms and things like that. I'm sure we're talking to perps platforms all over the place to get plugged in for IUSD. We're talking to DEX partners to help us get yield on the board for IUSD. Um, so yeah, and I guess another thing is some of you might be aware the Optimism Superfest program, our team handled all the allocation and all the business development for that. So we've developed really close working relationships with the Renzo team and the EtherFi team, and are going to be trying to convert those into some really high quality partnerships on the IUSD end. So yeah, I mean, we see this huge demand, and we're really positioned to be on the supply side. And the nice thing is, as issuers of synthetic credit, the opportunity cost is not in like paying lenders; it's really in deepening liquidity. And because it's going to be one of few native assets, there are going to be a lot of platforms, a lot of dexes willing to just help us out of the box, deepen liquidity, help us with incentives, help us with bootstrapping, so that we don't need to just burn cash to make IUSD really liquid. So that's kind of
Mm,
another exciting thing. We're kind of like the belle of the ball right now, I would say. Like we're the most active builders. I mean, there are active builders, but maybe a better word is we're the most productive builders on the chain right now. So we're just going to try our best to hard carry everybody to the DeFi heaven.
yeah. Um, yeah, and we're at a really good place with 0 emissions currently. So I guess to kind of recap, next week, Grand Tonto dropped a message there in the chat, but Monday the 15th, we will have Liquidity on Velodrome. It will be a V2 pool, as was mentioned. So no need to manage concentrated liquidity.
How much liquidity, Charles?
Between in the range of $300,000 and $400,000 worth of. So that's happening on Monday. The airdrop is happening on Friday. And everybody will be able to claim in line with the airdrop schedule, which is claiming half of your airdrop on day 1, and then the next 25% in the second month, or I guess the first month after that, and then the last 25% the month after. So airdrop will happen, claims will happen, and then emissions for the money market are going to be turned on the following Monday on the 22nd. Yeah, obviously, like I'm excited for Monday to this upcoming Monday to hit, and we start showing some numbers on the staking end, and for getting people excited to claim their tokens and have something to do with them, because it's pretty crucial when you drop tokens. I mean, the meta is kind of like drop tokens and then roll out some stuff in the following month. But
And then
it's
bleed to
great
0.
to and then bleed to 0. Yeah.
You forgot the
So it's
part.
great to have, like, there's gonna be a ton of stuff to do with your ICL right away. And yeah, and I think IUSD, I'm not gonna say any timelines, but I think it's a lot sooner than people think. So I guess I'll just leave it there. And yeah, I'm just excited to be on the upswing again in terms of growth. Like, once we start turning on these incentives, and people see how return back to Ironclad and see how baller things are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm honestly
it's gonna be a good
really
time.
excited. I'm really excited for like the UI UX improvements. Honestly, I think
I haven't
the
even
way.
been privy to that too much.
Yeah, you should talk to Pixel.
Dude, hell yeah.
We're creating a lot of user journeys, user stories, etc. right now, fleshing out some really nice UI UX. I think if you go on the Ironclad site right now, it looks very MVP, I would say. And that's like it's like a really solid MVP, but it looks very bootstrap. If any of you are familiar with like the Bootstrap UI UX library, I don't think they're using Bootstrap, but so we've been in with the front end team, back end team, figuring out, okay, like how do we make this a little bit more of an exciting experience for everybody. So yeah, what you see on Ironclad right now is kind of the bare bones, and it might look somewhat familiar just because every DeFi uh, uh, project just looks like a spreadsheet or looks like a table. But from like the back end all the way to the client, all the data infrastructure, everything is built in house by our team. So we have an insane amount of flexibility, and what you'll find with alternative platforms is they often outsource their development, so they can't really iterate that well, which is a big kind of pain in the butt if you've ever been in a similar situation or on a team that outsources everything. So once we're done with like the core protocol stuff, being getting the staking page up, getting the claims page up, getting the airdrop stuff up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, the front end team is going to quit messing around with backend and quit messing around with the core features and start to prettify things, improve kind of the reactivity of the site, and just make it a better experience overall. And yeah, I would say like if any of you have ever wanted to complain about the front end, please, please, please do. all that stuff. Anytime one of you leaves a comment in the Discord or complains, it makes its way to Slack, and we all talk about it and prioritize changes and things like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, Jonah, the Neuralink interface is going to be next level. And then we can onboard the one or two guys in the world that have Neuralink. That would be
Um,
dope, though.
yeah.
It would be
Ironclad
cool.
chips.
Yeah,
Codex chips.
yeah.
Um,
And then the Neuralink promo will have to have the Ironclad site because it's only one of like 3 websites that have support.
yeah, that's the other thing about um getting this launch underway is like we can now focus on um improving things. Everyone's been grinding to get this completed, and now that we've like locked in a really really good strategy, it's like okay, now like we can really focus on the other parts of development on the app, like Justin just talked about. I think like the improvement as the UI is now, and then where it will be in the future, is totally in line with our brand. It's like we're like forging, we like just got, we just stuck the sword into the water for the first time, and now it's time to like, polish it up. I feel like that's something that we can kind of play on. But yeah, that's exciting. I'm DMing Pixel like literally the second I wanna look at it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll have
well,
one
yeah.
of these big talks. We can have everybody critique the Figma, and we can make Pixel go crazy. I think that would be very nice.
I love that. I love giving Pixel tons of work. It's
Yeah,
fun.
me too. He
Um,
also loves it because he's a
yeah,
twisted fan.
yeah. He says he doesn't, but you can tell.
Yeah, that's
He's a
not a human.
maniac.
That's yeah. He's yeah. He's like the ultimate designer. But yeah,
Yeah.
excellent.
Um,
Yeah, and oh, go ahead, Charles.
no, no, please.
I
I
was
was gonna
just
start
looking
my
at.
10-minute wrapping it up.
Oh, yeah. I was looking at Null talking about liquidations and redemptions. We IUSD redemptions are gone, right? Or they're permissioned rather. So we shouldn't be seeing
Yes.
redemptions. It should be almost fully replaced by um, uh, interest rate mechanisms. And then we made it permissioned because we don't want to totally cut out the redemption piece in case we need to like turn it on and do it in cases of like a really significant drawdown of the stable coin where okay, if we wait for freaking uh, the interest rate to get everybody to pay everything back, it might take too long. So we have the big red button if necessary, and anybody who's kind of new to our stablecoin system, we've been iterating, and one of the most annoying pieces is redemptions that we've at our users' requests 1,000 times over tried to limit as much as humanly possible. And redemptions, that's basically taking your stablecoin and redeeming it for someone else's collateral. So imagine being the person who, someone just put $1 in your pocket and then pulled out some of your Bitcoin, like involuntary selling. So we're going to be getting rid of that, and it should be a way better user experience, top to bottom. So very dope.
Yeah. And the result of people being exposed to redemptions is that they don't want to be, and then everybody's collateral ratio goes way up, and the system becomes less efficient. There because you get to a point where there's $5 backing every dollar of the stablecoin minted, and it's not borrowing is constrained, and you want lots of people borrowing. You want really healthy utilization. So and the other thing with um, kind of removing redemptions is that they're not going to be um, I mean, like, what's the proper way to phrase this? But like the the below $1 area of the price is going to be supported by the management fee and by balancing out the interest earned by the stable versus the interest earned by the collateral. So like talking about Mode having so many interest-bearing assets, people like to loop those assets and thus short the stable. And so we are going to be sort of redirecting a lot of that yield earned by the collateral to the stablecoin side, such that it's less profitable to loop and it's more profitable to actually demand the stable and hold the stable to get the yields that you would be getting or just getting it on the other side. So just less sell pressure on the stable in general. Um, yeah, it's very elegant, and I can't wait to see it in action. And it's going to work well with the lending market as our model exists, where the collateral is bootstrapping the lending market. Borrowing rates get driven down on the lending market. More people come to Ironclad to borrow. It's a healthy loop system where the stablecoin can actually scale. The yield of the stablecoin can actually scale with demand and isn't constrained by this redemption problem that we've seen from like literally every liquidity fork that introduces interest bearing collateral. So it's a
Yeah.
completely novel system, and I'm proud
If any of you
to.
have looked at the Prisma
Yeah.
chart,
Yeah.
uh, I looked at the Prisma chart the other week, and it's like absolutely mind-boggling, um, considering everybody in the industry was talking about it.
Everyone
And
was
and
talking
these
about
are
it for
the
about a week, and then they went away.
yeah these are the problems that we have solved, or I mean I would say like solving problems associated with like interest rate arbitrage and problems associated with issuing solid debt tokens. Um, that's not a problem that can be solved in a day, but I would say right now we are maybe us and Curve are forging the path towards sustainability um, for these synthetic debt instruments. So really excited to keep forging a path forward, and we have like our kind of stable coins. Uh, we're already developing like the next version and the next version right now. Um, so the nice thing is you're going to see us constantly pushing toward perfection. Um, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
just like
same on the lending side too.
yeah, it's a sad state of affairs in the stablecoin universe, and I'm excited to really start moving the needle hard.
Let's go. Let's go. Um, yeah, well, we hit about 40 minutes. That's kind of all I wanted to cover. I hope everybody had any questions you had answered. If you have any, please drop them in the chat while I make my long-winded closing out speech. Yeah, but guys, Monday is the big day, and I'm really really excited to get ICL in everybody's hands. I think everyone is going to be very very happy about the airdrop. Um, like the common questions have come into the Discord of like, or I guess maybe not even questions, but general comments you get pre-airdrop with, it better be good or whatever. And I'm actually really excited to make those people happy because I think yeah, I think it's going to be great. The Grand Tonto, that is a question. Is the price of OICL going to be the price on the 19th where the market puts it, or at 20 cents? So yeah, I mean, the price of ICL is what dictates um what it costs to redeem one ICL. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So, it, it can change between Monday and Friday. But you know, think about this: there isn't going to be um anyone with tokens to sell before the 19th. Like, we're gonna see liquidity, and no one's getting any tokens before then. So, um, you know,
Yeah,
that's
it'll
like
be
like
OICL
yeah,
is going to be a 50% discount based on the time weighted average price of ICL on the 19th. So there's
yeah.
not going to be any float. There's not going to be anything available to users on the 15th besides what's already in the liquidity pool. There's going to be staking available to users in that liquidity pool. And then on the 19th, the price may go up simply because people want to expose themselves to the staking early before the 19th. But overall, I think like we're going to see a very finely tuned launch, and the fact that Bitget has been moved out a week and a half or so is like really good for us because we have a lot more control over outcomes. Um, so yeah, on the 15th, any ICL in people's hands is going to have to be purchased from the market, and purchases from the market will increase the ratio of ICL to USD in that LP, which is a long-winded way of saying the token can only go up leading up to the 19th.
Um, yeah, and OICL, like redeeming OICL into ICL is the only place where you'll need mode. If obviously if you're buying it off the market, you can just stake it right away. You're buying liquid ICL. Yeah, it's only with, the airdrop and the subsequent emissions of OICL is that you'll have to redeem. Time that the LP will live. That's a good question. I mean, it can be kind of anytime. I think we set a time.
Probably in the morning, right?
Yeah, probably sort of late morning EST. So
Yeah.
sort of mid-afternoon UTC is likely when it will go live.
Yeah, I'm gonna wake up
Um,
at 6 a.m. and then I'll probably be whipping everybody into shape to get everything seated.
nice, love that. Are the
And
relics going to be fully functional so that we can merge these with earlier stakes after
I'll
the
see where the
19th?
front end
That's
is
a good
at.
question.
We're going to just so that we can have like really solid core mechanics because maturity is less important early on because everybody's going to be the same maturity. We'll get data visualization and like merge and split features ready ASAP after the 15th. And ASAP might mean before the 19th. It might mean in the week following. But yeah, we'll get all of the split and merge and data visualization and everything up online ASAP. But it might not be ready on the 15th.
Good questions, Tonto.
Yeah. Yes,
Always
yeah,
appreciate
15th
you.
it's literally like here is the yield, here is the stake button, here is the unstake button, and everything else
Yeah.
will roll out as time permits. But we created like there's a lot of like uh, we generate SVGs on chain with Reliquary, and we have like a UI data provider on chain for the Reliquary. So it's like a lot of development goes into getting the UI nice and performant and reactive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
indeed. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I will actually get this recording up ASAP. I don't know how many times I've said that, but I'm gonna do it. It's a Friday, so come on, what do I have to do tomorrow? Um, Besides work. So yeah, thank you, lovely Craig. I'll have this recording up. I'll remind you all. And yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful week. And get pumped. I'm pumped. I can't
Yeah.
believe this is finally happening. Let's freaking go.
This is the most like mathematically sweated over launch I think that any of us will have seen in a long ass time. So Yeah, it's like every single token is accounted for, every single percent of float, every single tool that we need to make sure everything goes smoothly. So thank you all for the support. Thank you, Charles, for hosting. And I will steal your thunder unless you wanna keep closing us out.
I don't.
Okay, goodbye, everybody. Thank you very much for your time, and look forward to the recording here soon. And freaking look forward to next week. It's going to be freaking awesome. I'm not going to cuss, but you better believe I'm cussing in my head. Let's go.
Gonna be
So
bananas.
it's gonna be bananas. It's gonna be cool as heck. I'll see you guys on Monday.
All right. See you guys.
Take care, everybody. Bye bye.